once again, you is I, your friend, streamer, long-time lover, Sabaton Liam here, back in what feels like ages and ages. We are back with Call of Cthulhu. How are you all going? We have Loudmouth Schnook, otherwise known as Fran. Hello and welcome in. Now, you may have noticed we're missing a few people. Unfortunately, we have Froggy, who's away seeing her daughter. So hopefully, we'll have Matt later tonight, and Billy is no longer with us. Oh, okay, yelling. Yeah, so it's just me and Crystal tonight with our lovely keeper. So, without any further ado, and hello.
Hello.
No, my
Hello,
picture's
everyone.
not updating.
It's up there.
That's okay.
Oh yeah, that's right. Yeah, yeah. For
She
Recopy
looks...
the link that I sent you.
Oh,
Sometimes siblings basically look like the same person, especially when they're characters in a tabletop game.
sorry guys.
Welcome everybody to the world of darkness and terror. Tonight's going to be a little bit different. Two of our players are unavailable, have prior engagements.
We might have Matt later.
We might have Matt later, but as far as I'm aware, tonight it's just us three. So we're going to have a little intimate episode set in a single little room. But that doesn't mean there's going to be any less horror or madness. In fact, there's only two of you, but you're going to be doing double duty in this little room, and you're going to be receiving the other's share of terror and horror as well. I am, as ever, your keeper, Dale, or Dark Gaia, and I shall summon the music, and we will begin tonight's episode, entitled The Dead Border. Last time, our investigators got embroiled in the mystery of a young girl by the name of Angela Lawrence, who committed grisly suicide, hurling herself off a tree onto... and we do have our third. Welcome.
Oh, hello, Matt.
We're just getting through the little recap and intro. I'll start again, just for good measure, since I literally only started talking, so I may as well start again.
Cool. Good timing there.
Good timing, yep. No, you literally missed me like 15 seconds of me doing an intro. Alright, so let's begin again. 3, 2, and 1. Welcome back to the world of Call of Cthulhu, everyone. Last time, our investigators found themselves embroiled in the mystery of one Angela Lawrence, a young girl who committed suicide in the most grisly fashion by hurling herself onto an expanse of hard, jagged, sharp rocks, battering and breaking her body and bones. We won't really delve into the specifics of what that mystery entailed, not tonight, because tonight is to do with a different matter. That'll be for when the rest of the investigators return. But one important thing that you should remember is that the trail of clues that you found unraveling this ghastly mystery unfortunately led to the death of poor Florence, who had her head caved in by a walking, hungry corpse, a servant of the entity Mikote. That's where we last left off. It is time to return to the world of the living and poke once more at the barrier between this world and the next. Blake, let's begin this session with you. Blackness, Blake. That's all you know. Blackness. Oblivion. The void. Nothingness. The unconsciousness seems to stretch on into infinity. You don't know when it will end. You don't know how long it's been. You simply know that this is, how it always has been. Blissfully unaware of the horrors that unfolded. Mercifully ignorant of the death of one of your friends. So let's yank you out of that black void, suddenly drop you once more into conscious existence. With a jerk, you're suddenly awake. You open your eyes and look around, and you realize you're lying not on the floor, not in a hospital bed, but that you're standing on your own 2 feet. Outside. Look around to see where you are, and there's very little light. It takes a few seconds for you to realize that the misshapen, non-defined black shapes that surround you are actually the gnarled branches and trunks of trees, and the blackness above you is not the sky, but instead an impenetrable canopy of leaves. And then you smell it, that familiar smell, that earthy scent, the humid, sticky air, and you realize, Blake, that you are once again in the Hockomock Swamp, apparently entirely alone. What do you do?
Am I? Is Blake still?
For the moment, we shall say he is not.
I look around frantically, trying to see anyone else, and just, where am I? Where am I? I thought I left the swamp. Where am I?
As soon as your voice comes out of your lips, you hear rustling. It's as if the trees around you are dancing, as if they hear the sound of your anguished pleas and recoil. I'd like you to do a listen check for me, please.
Hmm.
67. You can't tell what direction it's coming from, but as soon as you hear the rustling, you stop in your tracks, make yourself entirely silent, and just listen. And what you thought was nothing more than the wind dancing through the leaves and branches turns into the sound of a broken twig, heavy footfalls. It could be coming from behind you, it could be coming from in front of you. You can't pinpoint the direction, but with a start, you realize you are not alone here after all. Somebody is creeping around unseen in the darkness.
Who's that? Who's there? Help!
There is silence, save for the wind going through the leaves and the distant sound of running water. And then a snap! Another twig snapped underfoot, the footfalls getting heavier, louder, faster. Someone or something moving with purpose directly towards you.
Clarence? Eve? No! Someone help! Where are you?
Snap! Another twig broken. Crash! A tree branch wrenched from a trunk, cast aside on the floor, and then you can see it right in front of you, only a meter away, so close you could reach out and touch it, hunched over, its skin grey, gaunt, waterlogged. It's another one of those corpses, Mikote's servants. It peers at you with dead eyes, barely visible under the wet, waterlogged hair that covers its face. It says nothing. It makes no more movement towards you. It just stands there and watches.
What are you doing? Please. And I slowly start to like anxiety starting to rise through the roof. Frantically look around for anyone else.
Go ahead, make me a spot hidden check, please.
That is a 62. Can I use 2 luck?
You sure can. You edge backwards. It does not make a movement to follow you, it just lets you step back. You glance to the left, glance to the right, desperate to find someone, anyone to help you. The moonlight peeks through the jungle canopy for a split second, illuminates your surroundings, and somewhere to your left you see a slender figure standing in the tree line, black, cast in shadow. Another zombie, perhaps? Or one of your friends. They're only visible for a second before a cloud passes over, the canopy rearranges, and the light is gone. But based on their slender build, their height, it was a feminine figure. And it's almost like she had her arm outreached, beckoning for you to follow, to hurry, run.
Lawrence? Is that you? I stumble over myself, run into where the shadow was.
As you run forwards, the creature beside you does not move to grab you, continues just watching. You don't glance over your shoulder at it, you just run, bursting through the tree line ahead towards where you see the figure. There's a creak as something swings from a tree branch, and the hanging corpse of a woman nearly bowls you off your feet. You feel your mouth drop open in shock as you peer up and recognize her. It's Violet. The life choked out of her. Her face white, pale, her eyes bulging out of their sockets. Her hand outreached in rigor mortis, reaching up to her throat to try to pull the noose off in the last seconds of life. Fruitless attempt. Then, from behind you, you hear it once more. The crunch of snapping twigs, the shuffling footsteps of that thing, drawing ever closer. You can feel it now. You can feel the warm air behind you disturbed, pushed aside as the figure shuffles towards you, so close now that its fingers outreached, maybe only centimeters away. What do you do?
Who's it? Wait, can I see what's coming towards me?
You can turn around if you like.
Yeah, like we'll turn around. He doesn't know what's going on. His friends are gone. He saw Violet's body. His head's everywhere. So yeah, he turns around.
As you turn around, whatever you were going to say, whatever questions you were about to ask, just slip out of your mind. Because here in this clearing, where there's a little bit more light than there was earlier, you can finally see that waterlogged corpse shuffling out from behind the trees. It reaches up, parts the wet, decaying hair from its face, and as it reaches out to grab you, you see Florence.
Lawrence,
The corpse of Florence.
what?
Her dead eyes looking at you with, is that anger? Hatred? Or merely sadness? and then you feel her hand clasp down on your arm. And then your eyes flicker open and you awaken. Blake, you are no longer temporarily insane.
Oh, good. Good.
Easy there, says a voice, the first thing you hear upon waking up. Your vision is blurry, ill-defined. You reach up, rub the sleep out of your eyes and look around, and you see, before you, a squeaky clean hospital room. You're lying in a bed, and standing at the foot of it, a look of deep concern wrought on his weathered old face,
Who
is the doctor.
are you? Where am I? How did I get here?
Dr. Edwin smiles. Blake, it's okay. He holds out a hand to calm you. You're in the hospital in Danvers State. You had a little bit of trouble in the swamp. Everyone else got you and Teve out of there. You're both safe. Teve is in the other room down the hall. He's just been discharged. The nurses are just doing some last-minute checks on him.
Lawrence, where's she? I had such a terrible dream. Where is she?
The professor frowns. Florence. Yes. Well, about that. Before he can continue, however, the door behind him creaks open, and in step several more figures. First is the doctor, clad in a white coat, stethoscope dangling around his chest. He's holding a clipboard in one hand. And when he sees you're awake, he smiles and he waves. Dr. Edwin, and you were right. It looks like he's come to. Does he appear to be lucid? Dr. Edwin looks back at him, nods and says, he's, still in a bit of shock, but, look, we'll have him brought up to speed in no time. The doctor nods, turns, and leaves the room, and the other two figures behind him walk in. The first, you recognize instantly. It's Teve.
Eve? You're alive?
Teve is covered in bandages. There are bruises on his face, on his arms. He limps a little bit when he walks, but good old Teve shines through. That jovial, adventurous, boisterous ruffian can be seen underneath all of it. How are you feeling, Teve? After waking up, feeling like every bone in your body was broken, only to be shuffled out of your bed, given a battery of tests, and then brought here.
Feels like I went out for a pretty hard weekend with the boys.
And then, standing next to Teve. Oh, joy. Oh, relief. It's Florence. She's safe. But wait, no. No, it's not Florence. The woman standing next to Teve looks like Florence. Looks so much like her, but there's something different. And instantly you know this is not Florence at all. Let's introduce our new character. Go ahead, tell us her name, tell us a little bit about her.
Hi, Dominika Belevsky. I'm Florence's sister. Nice to meet you. She stretches out her hand for a handshake.
Who are you stretching it to?
You,
Oh.
Blake.
No, you're Florence. You look exactly like her. What's going on? No. And I'm just like, Blake is unaccidentally rubbing his his pocket watch, and he's clearly freaking out. He's dripping cold sweat, and he can't believe that that this woman is not Florence.
It could be her. Her face, her voice, her hair. but it's not her. You know deep down. Dr. Edwin clears his throat, and he looks first into your eyes, Florence's sister, a look of deep sympathy. You've only known this man for a few days, this Dr. Edwin. He called you out of the blue, a phone call, without warning in the middle of the day, introducing himself as one of your sister's colleagues, is how he put it. And as soon as you heard his gravelly voice on the other end of the phone, you knew. You knew your sister had been experimenting in certain things that perhaps she did not understand. You warned her, you told her these things were not to be trifled with, but she didn't listen, and you knew that this day would come. Florence, unfortunately, well, she didn't make it out of the swamp, Blake. There's no easy way to say it. And this is her sister, who's, well, she arrived in town yesterday to collect her sister's personal effects, and while she's here, she's offered to lend her expertise in, well, putting the pieces together to resolve what her sister gave her life for.
Blake is just eyes wide and going, no, no, this can't be true. And he tries to get out of bed. No, I've got to go back to the swamp. I've got to go find her. And I try to get out and make a dash towards the door.
Would anyone like to stop him?
Dave trips him.
Go ahead, Teve. Make me a fighting brawl check or a dex check.
I'll go.
Dominica steps out of the way, still composed.
Yep.
Okay, so that is a 70, which is literally what my fighting brawl is.
Oh, damn.
So a regular pass. Go ahead and roll me a dodge, please, Blake.
Oh, half my deck. 20. That is a 7. That is just off a critical pass.
Teve reaches out. He tries to grapple you when you dodge his foot that he kicks out to try to trip you with. And you make it across the room, make it to the door when the grim-faced doctor steps into the doorway, clipboard in his hand. He places his other hand on your shoulder and he grips tightly and he says, "Please, sir, I understand, but I'm going to need you to calm down. If you do not calm down, you'll need to be sedated."
No, I have to find Florence. I have to know what's going on. There was still so much I had to tell her. There's so much I had to give her. And I just, Blake starts hyperventilating and just slowly starting to lose it.
Eve sneaks up behind him and chokes him out.
I thought you were going to throw a book at me for a second.
I'm out of books. Okay. Use them all up.
You feel Teve's hands wrap around your body as he pulls you back into the room, and he half carries you, half guides you back to the bed, pushes you down so you're seated on the end of it, and then Dr. Edwin, the other grim-faced medical doctor, and the woman who looks so much like her sister step forward, forming a circle around you. Dr. Edwin clears his throat, he hangs his head, and he says, "I know, Blake. I know. It happened all too fast, happened all too soon, but, well, this is every one of us in this room." At this, he looks at the stony-faced doctor, who nods and takes this cue to turn and leave once more. And once he's out of earshot, Dr. Edwin continues, "All of us in this room understand the risks involved in what we do. But let it be said, I am not about to act as if nothing happened. We are going to get to the bottom of this, and we are going to make sure that Florence did not lose her life in vain. And for that, Blake, we need you to get a grip, pull yourself together, and help us.
No, no, this can't be true. You're all lying to me. You're all lying to me. And in that point, I start mumbling, and you know that spell you gave me? I would like to converse with Yig.
Well, go ahead and spend the sanity points and MP required.
I don't have the Crystal. Do you have the book on you at the moment?
Yeah.
What's the name of the spell?
Let me check. I'll tell you. I have the spells too. We'll see if she can find it, or if I can find it first. And whoever's able to find it gets a cookie.
Oh, yay! Oh, I can't even remember.
Ah, okay. No, I know what you're doing. You need to spend.
Full deity.
Yes, it is called. It is No, it's not call deity. It's contact deity, which is a slightly different version. So I will ask you to go ahead and spend 1d10 points of sanity, please, and a single magic point to reach out and call upon Yig.
That's a star, so that's 9, isn't it?
Luckily, you can't go insane from this sun loss.
Still, that's 47. And how much magic?
And 1 magic point. Just 1. It's more you're giving up more of your mind rather than your magical essence. Suddenly the room around you swirls and fades away, dissolving into an endless white expanse. And now it's just you and Dr. Edwin. But there's something different. His eyes are narrower. The green-yellow eyes of a serpent glaring back at you from a reptilian face. He opens his mouth, and out comes a hiss, and the words resolve themselves in your mind. You call upon me. What is it you seek?
Oh, great, Yig. Tell me, this can't be true. Florence is not dead. Please tell me. She can't be dead.
She has fallen, says the Edwin Yig thing. Fallen to the enemy, Mikote, and you shall avenge her, and I shall grant you the wisdom to succeed where she failed. Go forth now and seek the false prophet of the accursed Yog-Sothoth.
Please, is there any way I can bring her back? I can't live without her.
You will do what is necessary to serve me. If it is a measure of peace you desire, then so be it. His mouth twists into a smile, and it opens. Forked tongue peeks between the teeth. And you feel something stirring in the back of your mind, Blake. Wisdom from Yig. Will you allow it to flow forth?
Blake's not in his right mind at the moment, so he's basically letting anything in.
Go ahead and make a sand check for me, please.
Good. 7. Oh, wow, that was a 12.
There's a flash, and a sequence of events play out before your eyes in fast-forward frames from a film played out of order. A wooden floor covered in a plastic tarp, blood, a deep red glowing spiral, a figure with the face of something from beneath the deepest ocean, and then a dark void. A figure standing in the middle of it, holding out its hands, reaching them to the sky. A female voice calling out, "The gate and the key! I bridge the gap!" And then, with a jerk, you're back in the hospital room. Dr. Edwin Jenner releases his hand, taking it off your shoulder, and for a second, you feel a little bit calmer now. The woman who is not Florence steps forwards, and now that she's closer to you, now that she's in brighter light, you can certainly tell the difference. Her face bones are arranged in a slightly different way, her cheeks slightly lower, her eyes a slightly different shape. She smiles, and you sense that you are kindred spirits. She does not want her sister to have died in vain, and nor do you.
All I can do is breathe, and my hands are moving of their own accord, and I reach for my belongings and pull out my pocket watch and hand it to Dominique, and I pass back out on the bed.
Sink back down, breathing deeply. Dr. Edwin nods. Well, I suppose, if that gives you some measure of comfort, at least for now. I'm sorry, Blake. We don't have the time to process this. We need to get to work. He turns to Dominique. Dominique, do you know what your sister was dealing with? What did she tell you before she, he trails off?
Okay, I'm gonna have to get up her character sheet now. Give me a second.
Please stand by.
Well, it's up to you. Do you think Florence would have told her sister anything about what she was involved in?
Absolutely. Ooh. This one. Yes.
Just quietly reading to herself. I can hear her over at her computer.
Okay, yeah, so Dominica knows what Florence was looking for. She knows what she had with her. And she warned her sister not to go looking for it. And basically this is a come to death if she did.
You did the reading yourself. You remember laying the cards out on the table and picking them, flipping them upside down and seeing the death card and the tower card peering up at you. You still remember that shiver of dread when you knew exactly what was going to happen. Edwin listens to you tell him the story and recount everything your sister shared with you, and then he nods. Good. Well, as you know, your sister gave her life so that the mystery of young Angela Lawrence could be solved. And so I'll ask, are you prepared to take up your sister's mantle, fulfill her final wish, and ensure that what she gave her life for comes to pass?
That is why I'm here, isn't it?
Well, I must say I'm proud. Without hesitation, you took up her mantle and are prepared to continue on where she left off, knowing that you may meet the same fate. But I suppose we all grieve in different ways. He claps his hands together. Well, on the topic of that business, we've got a few leads that are panning out, seeing what shakes out. While Blake and Teve have been in the hospital, I've had Edna and Violet chasing up several of the clues you gathered, and well, when we have a promising lead, we'll spring back into action. Luckily, for now, it looks like we've got a couple of days to relax, recover, and prepare for what's to happen next. I've sent Edna up to Boston to speak with an antique bookseller about something that may be pertinent to the case. And I sent Violet to look into the local myths about the Wampanoag tribe. But, at this he lowers his head. Violet hasn't been in contact with us for several days now. You and Teve have both been in the hospital here for just under a week, more or less. And Edna and Violet both left for their various investigations 3 days ago. Now I've had phone calls from Edna keeping me up to date with her progress, but I haven't heard from Violet. And I thought, well, maybe she just got caught up in whatever it was she was doing, or maybe, given what happened last time you stepped into the swamp, she was taking some time to rest and recuperate before jumping into the thick of it. But then I got a phone call from Ma Shanks. She's the owner of the boarding house downtown where Violet is staying, and Violet, whose rent was due yesterday, failed to show. His face screws up. Well, I'll be honest, I'm concerned. I know that Violet took some of those books from the repository in the swamp. And, well, she was the only one of you who refused to divulge exactly why she felt the need to remove those materials. And, well, I'd like to commission an official investigation from the Preservation Society. I would like you to find out what the hell's happened to her. Find out where Violet is. Find out if she's made any progress in the investigations I sent her to do. And, well, find out why she hasn't bothered to check in. He looks into your eyes, Blake. Do you think you can handle that, son? Should be simple. Ask a few questions, get you back into the swing of things. Take your mind off past events.
Blake tries to compose himself, brushing his hair back. I can try. That's all I can do.
He nods. Well, that'll be a good way to make sure you're still fit for duty, as they say. And Teve, you're still recovering from your ordeal, and so I think a nice, simple jaunt like this should be what you need. Take a walk down to the boarding house, see if you can contact our girl, and hopefully you shouldn't have to lasso anything or tackle anything or end up with any more broken bones.
She'll be right. I'm still faring a lot better than the last box party I was on.
He chuckles. To think of the days when we were young and carefree. Well, Blake, Teve, I've filled out the paperwork with the doctors on your behalf. You've both got a clean bill of health, and you're free to leave whenever you wish. Unless there are any questions, I'll take my leave. I promised Edna I'd call her just after lunch to discuss her latest findings, and I'd rather not keep her waiting.
Dominica pipes up. I need to gather all of Florence's belongings, including the manuscript that she was traveling with, diagrams, and any information she found during this investigation.
Oh, yes. Well, I had them gathered up from her quarters down at the college, and I bundled them up, and, I'll have the box brought here to the hospital. The college isn't far down the road. By the time Teve and Blake here are finished getting ready and ready to leave, it should be waiting for you down in the lobby. I'll instruct that nobody else should be allowed to open it except for you.
Thank you.
I haven't had a look at what she had. I haven't had it cataloged. I'd like to think that none of it was particularly dangerous, and so I release it into your custody, but I advise you to be extremely careful. Your sister lost her life dealing with some of these things.
Blake
And I
overhears
would
that
be-
and he just.
I would not want...
Dominica just gives him the side eye.
Well, I'll leave it up to your judgment. As I understand it, you have a similar background to your sister, perhaps with a bit more experience under your belt. I'm sure if you see anything that shouldn't be, you'll know what to do with it. Not to suggest that Florence made a bad judgment call. Sometimes these things happen. He tips a hat that he's not wearing. He just reaches up and tips an invisible hat to you, and then flashes a smile, a broad, worried smile in Blake's direction, one that silently says, "Cheer up, buddy." And then he turns and leaves. And you're ready to begin your latest investigation, thrown right back into the thick of it. Is there anything that either of you would like to do before heading out to Mars boarding house and trying to pick up Violet's trail?
I can't think of anything Blake.
Seeing as we're in a hospital, can I further patch myself up?
You sure can. You look around, make absolutely certain that the doctor is down the hallway. You wait for Dr. Edwin to round a corner, and then you look to make sure there's no wandering doctors and nurses. So you carefully shut the door, make your way over to the medicine cupboard opposite Blake's bed, open it, and get to work. Go ahead, make yourself a first aid roll, and you may make it as if your first aid skill were 20 points higher.
Oh, wow.
Because this is a hospital. It's pretty well stocked.
Okay, that is a 2.
Holy shit.
And my first aid is 61. 81.
Ooh. Okay, so was that a hard pass or an extreme pass?
Extreme pass.
Extreme pass. So you recover 3 hit points, and any lingering major wounds you have are gone. And Dominique, this must be a shock to you that this burly man just crosses the room. He nonchalantly opens the doctor's supply cupboard, starts pulling out bandages and vials and bottles, rips one of his own bandages off and begins dressing the wound with all of the consummate skill of a Great War field medic poking and prodding at an eviscerated piece of meat.
She just she stares blankly at what he's doing, then refocuses her attention on Blake's pocket watch. Does Dominica recognize the symbol on the watch?
She may go ahead and make an occult check if she likes. Or a Cthulhu mythos check, but I don't think she has any of that because this is her first rodeo.
Yeah, no mythos. Occult is 80. I rolled 77.
77. A brief glance of the pocket watch strikes you as definitely being familiar. You're uncertain where you've seen this symbol or what exactly it entails. You wouldn't know the name of what it commemorates, but you've seen symbols like it, perhaps based on this very symbol, and you recall that it's the inscription of some sort of pagan god. A god of sacrifice, most concerningly. but also a god of life and growth.
Okay.
I just
So a few...
say to
Go ahead,
Dominica,
go ahead.
if anything happens to me, open the locket and go into my office. If something happens to me,
Dominica just stares at you, confused.
promise me you'll do it.
I promise.
As you slide the pocket watch into one of your pockets, Dominique, you can't help but notice the motif around the edge, the clasp that you can open. Where there would be a latch on a normal pocket watch, here there's a little ornamental serpent, one of its eyes bright red, some sort of jewel or gem or stone. And it almost seems to watch you, almost seems to slither as the light catches it at certain angles, and you put it away. Well, fast forward a few minutes later. The doctors and a single nurse take one more look at Teve, poking and prodding him. The nurse disapprovingly clucks and shakes her head when she sees that Teve has dressed his own wound, but the doctor says, well, at least he did a good job, and they're forced to concede that at the very least he didn't make things worse. And then you're being seen out, and right there in the lobby of Danvers Hospital, Dominique, is, as promised, on the reception desk, a big cardboard box. Your sister's name inscribed on the side in a marker. You take a few moments to open it up, peer inside, and you see all of the things your sister bequeathed to you. Her manuscript, her books, her notes, her photos. Everything she'd gathered over the past month or so working with the Preservation Society of Bridgeport. Is there anything among these belongings in particular that you're looking for?
Whether or not she got anywhere with the manuscripts.
Go ahead and make another occult check for me, please.
Yeah, 71.
71. Dig out the manuscript and the piece of paper that has her notes scrawled on it, and you're disappointed to find that in the last month, she's only seems to have done minimal work on the manuscript. After first mentioning it to you in her letter, mentioning that old library in the swamp and the sheer strangeness of some of the materials that the party gathered from there, you were excited to hear what she would find, but it seems she's only scratched the surface. The vast majority of this manuscript is still ripe for the taking, all of its wisdom ready to be plumbed and translated. But that's for another time. You pack everything back into the box and silently promise your sister that you will finish what she started. And then you follow Teve and Blake out through the double doors into the stale grey early afternoon light. About 20 minutes later, you're standing in front of Ma Shanks's boarding house. Situated on the edge of Bridgewater's downtown, this boarding house is the main accommodation for out-of-towners, at least the ones who aren't staying at the dorms at the college like you are. It's a fairly large triple-story building that at one point in time would have been grand, beautiful even, but now it's neo-Gothic architecture is wilting, collapsing under its own weight. The The clapboard exterior of the building that was once a bright, shining white is covered in grime and now more resembles a pale, dank grey. There's a hastily scrawled sign shoved in the front window on a piece of paper that simply reads, "Vacancies, $15 per month, inquire within." You step forwards through the doors and into the dusty lobby beyond. It's completely empty, save for a dirt-faced young boy, perhaps no older than 9 or 10, reclining on a chair behind the reception counter, browsing a comic book. He doesn't seem to react to you entering, doesn't even seem to hear the door shut behind you. What would you like to do?
Oh, sorry, I was waiting to see if there was any more. Sorry.
No, that's it.
So, we're at the boarding house, correct?
Yep, sure are.
Crap. Oh no, I've forgotten to write down. Did anyone write down notes? Crap.
That's okay. You shouldn't really need any from before. All you need to know is that this is where Violet was staying.
Oh yeah.
And her rent was apparently due yesterday, and no one's heard from her.
Hi there, boy. We
Sit down, bookworm. Steve saunters up. Hey mate, I heard one of our crew was renting here, and rent's due, and she's done a runner. Is that right?
He doesn't respond to Blake stuttering, but he looks up from his comic book as soon as your voice booms through this little reception area, Teve. He screws up his face and snaps the comic book shut. Oh, yeah. Someone from the college called and said you'd be coming. Dr. Edwin or something. Said you were on behalf of Violet, the lady who was living upstairs. I'm sorry, Ma's the landlady here, and she's out of town today, so she told me to man the... she told me to man the desk, and well, look, I'm not really sure what I'm supposed to do, but if you're her friends, I suppose I can show you to the room and let you in. Ma didn't want to go in on her own. She doesn't like to invade the privacy of the people who live here. So she said we wouldn't be able to go into the room, but I suppose if you're her friends, it shouldn't be a problem. He holds out a hand. He's still stuttering, shaking nervously. I'm Daniel, by the way. Daniel Shanks.
Nice to meet you, mate. How's it going?
I suppose I wasn't expecting to have to do anything today. I hope Ma's not going to complain that I gave you the key. But he jumps up off.
That's
Go
all
ahead.
right, chap. You look like you're a bit of interested in adventures by the looks of that comic book.
Yeah, you peer down at the cover of the comic book, and it's got a guy in an Akubra hat and a whip, and he's running from a boulder. And the kid looks up at you, and he says, "Oh yeah, this is Arizona Smith. He goes on all these adventures, and he gets all these treasures, and he shoots the bad guys, and oh man, the whip, oh, he lassos people, and he pulls them down, and he in this one, he excitedly flips through the comic book, and he shows you one of the panels, and you don't even get to see what's on the comic book before the kid pulls it away again, and starts excitedly describing, oh man, see, this guy pulled a sword out, and then Arizona lashed his whip and knocked it out of his hand."
You want to see something cool?
Cool?
Eve opens up his jacket and flashes his lasso.
Do you do a trick with it?
Yeah.
As soon as the kid sees it, his eyes widen, and you know he's expecting a trick. What would you like to do with it?
Leave me out of it.
Hog tie the bookworm.
Like, hold this book.
Go ahead and roll me a bushcraft check, please.
That is a. Is that a? We don't have 100, do we?
100 is the worst.
Yeah, 100
No,
is
no.
the 0. 100 is when you get 0 on one and 0 on the other.
Okay, I've got a 1 and 2 zeros.
1 and 2 zeros. Oh, so that's the best.
Yeah, that's a
that's
2.
1, the lowest roll you could get.
I thought
So-
that was 100.
So what happens is Blake knows that he's about to be subjected to whatever you're going to do. So he grabs the guest book off the counter, this big, thick, leather-bound tome, and he sort of like raises it in front of him like a shield. And that's when the whip cracks. And just like the scene the kid described in the comic book, you lash the whip against Blake's wrist, and he shrieks and drops the book, disarmed in an instant. And then, for good measure, you step forwards, wrap your arms around his chest, and tackle him to the ground. He sighs, rolls his eyes, and gives in, while the kid leans back, guffawing with glee. This is one of the most entertaining things he's ever seen. Oh, that's really neat, mister! Sure, cool, I can trust you. People who use a whip like Arizona Smith would never be bad guys.
You got a good eye, mate.
Well, I suppose, if you can be trusted, I can just tell you where the room is and give you the key. I don't even have to take you there. He begins to rifle under the desk, and you hear him rifling through the keys. He pulls out a single key, slides it across the desk. So Miss Violet, she was staying in room 203. That's on the floor just above this one. There's no one else staying on that floor except for the lady across from her. What was her name again? He peers down at the guest book, which has been put back on the reception counter. Oh, yeah. Miss Marquez. She lives on her own. If anyone heard anything suspicious in your friend's room, maybe she might have. He shrugs. Oh, and, I'm sorry, but, I'll need you to sign into the guest book. He slides a pen across the counter. If I don't... Go ahead.
I feel like we've just helped this kid dodge childhood trauma.
Will come back to us in a good way.
If you don't sign your names, Ma's gonna be very angry at me. She probably won't let me get the next comic book in the series. Do you sign the guest book?
Yeah, we can sign the guest book.
Do you sign it with your real name?
I'll sign it with my pen name.
Steve Irwin.
Yes, Steve.
Steve Irwin.
What about you, Blake?
I sign as Maxwell Hammer.
Maxwell Hammer. The guest book is pushed finally towards Dominique. And you too, ma'am.
Yes, sir.
You sign with your real name.
No, I sign it with Florence.
Florence Blavatsky.
And then Blake has a breakdown.
Well, that should do it. And, I see the ink is nice and black and fresh, so Ma will definitely see that if anything happens in that room, I didn't have anything to do with it, and, now I can go back to my comic book. Good luck, guys! The kid chuckles as he buries himself once more in his comic book.
We just walk past him and we hear him humming. Da, 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 da.
Yep. You take the key and you make your way upstairs. And there's a single hallway that runs through the second floor. There's 10 to 12 rooms, about 6 on each side, that make up the majority of this floor, but the hallway itself is incredibly narrow, incredibly cramped. There's barely enough room for you to move in single file, and you can't help but wonder what happens when there's more than one person living on this floor and they all happen to exit their rooms at the same time. The wallpaper is faded and smells vaguely of mildew. The floorboards beneath your feet damp and soft, creaking with every footstep. Finally, you come to room 203, where Violet was apparently staying. Directly opposite, behind you, room 206, the only other room on this floor that is apparently occupied. Are you ready?
As ready as we'll ever be.
Who'd like to unlock the door?
I think Steve should go first.
Fine, I'll do it. I'll save Blake a little bit of
Yeah, I
trauma.
should get the picture of the room up.
Teve, grab the key that the boy gave you and insert it into the lock.
Actually, but before I open the door,
Yep.
can I smell anything?
Can you smell anything? Go ahead and make me a, let's say, a power check for that.
Power check. Yeah, that's fine.
There's nothing specifically from the room that you can smell. There's this damp, musty scent all around this floor. But the room itself appears to be normal. Maybe there's something slightly mustier, something slightly sweeter in the smell hovering in front of this particular door, but nothing to put you on edge. You knock on the door one last time to check to make sure Violet definitely isn't in there, and then when you receive no reply, you insert the key. And this, because you already passed, you did not pass your power check. All I will tell you is, as you place your hand on the door handle to open the door, for a split second, it feels like the door shudders. For a split second, an almost imperceptible hum, like static electricity, and you swear that you could feel something vibrating. And then it stops.
Good thing this is the 1920s.
Where nothing can possibly go wrong.
Do you tell anyone?
Sorry?
Do you stop to mention it, or do you continue to open the door?
I'll mention it, but as I'm opening the door.
Yeah, Teve just looks over his shoulder. He says, "All right, heads up. Feeling something a bit weird
Yes,
for a second, anyway."
there's some bad juju.
And then he pushes the door open. Immediately from within comes the lingering smell of candles, long since burned out, and something sickly sweet and copper-like. Looking in, you see a shocking scene. Framed in the shafts of sunlight streaming through gaps in the curtains that are drawn over the window, a body. Dominique and Blake and Teve, I'd like all of you to make a sanity check, please.
Okay. Best ML was 47.
Yeah.
17.
That's 80. That's a fail.
Oh no, Blake. So for a pass, that'll be a san loss of 1, but for a fail, it'll be a san loss of 1d4.
Alright, I'll let you guys choose this. Do I use the Cthulhu die or the Nyarlathotep die?
Hmm.
Yeah, my current
We've had a
sanity is
good track
69.
record. We've had a good track record with Nyarlathotep.
Yeah, that's a 4. It's a 4. Oh no, what's this mean?
Blake immediately lets out a short, sharp scream and then claps his hand to his mouth. He takes a step back, his eyes wide, aghast. And Blake, you back up and ram the back of your body into the door on the opposite side of the hallway. As you peer beyond Dominique and Teve into the actual room. The corpse is lying on a tarpaulin, stretched out on the floor. You can see blood. Such a lot of blood. The man's body and the body and clothing are covered in it. It looks as though whoever they are, they somehow fell over from a kneeling position. The body is wearing a green tweed coat and a brown sweater vest. Whoever they are, the body is lying with their face facing away from the door. Even though you suspect this might be Violet, there's no way to tell without actually entering the room and approaching.
Okay, first, can Teve just like heavily sigh and look for a bookshelf?
Well, there is a map of the room on Discord, and Teve, taking your first steps into the room, you indeed see a large bookshelf. It's placed across the center of the room. This is a single room, a single bedroom, but there's this thick, ornate bookshelf that seems to be placed to act as a wall, dividing the room in half. The half to the right of the bookshelf has been turned into a living area, and on the other side of the bookshelf is a little alcove that serves as a makeshift bedroom. The book itself seems to be groaning under the weight of hundreds of tomes of all different colours and thicknesses.
Okay, so Teve grabs Blake, sits him down on the bed, grabs a book, puts it in his hands, and says, "All right, mate, what I need you to do is just sit here and calm down and have a bit of a read. We'll have a look, just calm down."
All right, what did he hand me?
Make a luck check for me, Blake.
Oh shit! What's my
Wait, no, wouldn't I be making the luck check because I?
Oh, I guess, yeah, you can go ahead and make it.
Alright,
Go ahead.
That was a pass. Actually, no, that was
We'll
a fail. Sorry.
Yeah, well, we'll see what
It's a
Teve
3.
gets. A 3,
That
which
was
is
a 3
a
out
pass.
of my current luck is 83.
You peer down at the book that Teve thrust into your hands, Blake, as you sink into this very, very old mattress. It is called A Primer in Greek Vocabulary. It's a basic phrase book, English to Greek and vice versa, for tourists.
Sorry.
Nice instruction.
I'm sorry, I can't get this out of my head. I start reading it and speaking bibbidi bobbidi boo, bobbidi bee. The eyes get the little book tingle as they always have, and I immediately just like wiggle my ass on the bed to make get me comfy and open and start reading and badly trying to pronounce the words.
So I'd like you to go ahead and make me either an intelligence check or a hard own language check to see if you can absorb some of the information in this book. Meanwhile, Teve and Dominique, you've come into the room, seen the ghastly sight of the body lying there on the tarpaulin. What do you guys do?
I assume it smells real bad in there now that we're in the room.
That's a good observation to make, Dominique. And as soon as you ask that question, you realize something is off. If this body has been lying here for apparently days, you would expect the room to have an awful stench, but there isn't. The most prominent smell in the room is that waxy candle smell.
Okay. So he was killed recently.
Whoever it is, he, she.
You're going to inspect the body.
Yeah, can I like drapes over the legs to the other side of the room?
Yep,
And try and take a peek of the face?
you sure can. The room's not big. There's not a lot of room to maneuver, but you're able to carefully step over the legs, step over the body to the other side. Behind the body is a single window. The blinds are half drawn on the window, and there's a single beam of light shining through that seems to land coincidentally right on the body's face. You haven't met Violet, Dominique. You only know her description, you only know her second hand from Florence, but you're staring into the face of a dead woman, or rather, what's left of it, because her face is covered in blood, not just blood stains, but lines of blood, curvatures, scars. It looks like somebody has taken a knife to this woman's face and scratched lines, circles, spirals, curves into the flesh.
Dominica grabs out pen paper and starts scribbling those symbols, I guess, from her face onto the paper.
Go ahead and make an occult check for me. Make it at a... You'll need a hard success to get information out of this. Meanwhile, Teve, you kneel down, and do you touch the body?
Not directly.
Not directly.
I pull out my gloves and I put them on. Do it. My leather gloves.
So what was I rolling for? A cold?
Yeah.
Occult, yep, and you want a hard success.
Occult
Teve?
is 80. I rolled a 20.
Cool, I'll get to you in a moment.
Yep.
Because that's a good roll. Teve, are you more interested in examining, as you kneel down, get your gloves on, you see what she sees, the cuts, the strange wounds on this person's face, and when you get close enough, your heart skips a beat and you realize that this is Violet. Even under all that blood, even when half of her face seems to have been carved away, you recognize her. Are you more interested in examining the body itself, or are you more interested in examining the wounds and trying to determine the cause of death?
Get in the water. Get in the water!
Well, sorry, I've forgotten what the sister's name is.
Dominique.
Dominic. Okay,
Yeah,
so
Dominique.
Dominic seems to be looking into the wounds, so I think I'll just inspect the body.
Cool. Go ahead and make me a spot hidden check.
That is a 63, and no, that's over.
Would you like to push or spend luck?
How much is it over?
13.
Oh,
Up to you.
Oh, I'm gonna push it.
early game.
That's a 50.
50. Alright. So
That works.
you try not to touch the body. You've seen enough of this shit now that you would not touch a body found in mysterious circumstances, but it's kind of hard to get a sense of what happened without rearranging her. So eventually you grab Violet by the shoulder and you turn her around so that she's lying flat on her back so that you can see her face staring up at you. You can make out the rest of the features of her body. And so these are the things you see. The first thing you notice is that there is a deep cut, freshly made around the head, as if a knife has traced a spiral from Violet's crown all the way down to her neck. Her clothes are blood-soaked. Her shirt is unbuttoned, or at least the top few buttons are, and you can see strange markings on her chest, more strange symbols carved into her. The blood that is pooled around the body on the plastic tarpaulin is dry, suggesting this all took place some time ago. You grab her by one of the arms, lift up the stiff arm, and examine the skin, peeling back the sleeve of the cardigan, and you see that she has scar markings across the back of her hands, on her legs and arms, and across her blood-covered torso. Each of the scars you see, or the ones that you can see anyway, under all the blood, are shaped like tiny spirals. Closer examination of these markings reveals that the spirals cover Violet's entire body. Anything that isn't immediately visible, that wasn't concealed by clothing. Some of the marks are old. The scars look months or maybe even years old. And with a shock, you realize that the whole time you knew Violet, this is what she looked like underneath. You also notice with that past spot hidden roll, Teve, underneath the body, jutting out under one of her legs, what appears to be the hilt of some kind of blade.
I'm just I'm getting flashbacks to our once off in person.
Yeah, you and knives.
Yeah, I'm gonna pick up the blade.
I have a question.
Go ahead.
Do these marks look self-inflicted?
Perhaps you'd like to make a first aid roll?
Oh, and also that a hard roll you got me to do while reading the book, that was a hard pass.
Awesome. I'll get to you in a sec along with her occult, but if you want, Dominica, you can make a first aid or a medicine roll to see if they were self-inflicted, while Teve braces himself, clasps a gloved hand around the hilt, and slides the blade out and does not come to life. It does not break out of your hand and
good.
fly through the air
Good.
and stab you like in The Haunting. No, it's a normal knife, or as normal as can be, except for the fact that the blade is wickedly curved, black, obsidian. It's obviously ceremonial or has religious significance. The black edge is tipped with blood, and it seems obvious when you pull it out, and when everyone sees Teve holding the knife up, it seems obvious to all of you that this is what was used to inflict the wounds, possibly what was used to kill her. So, Dominica, how'd you go on that roll?
The first aid, I don't have any points, but it says 30%.
30%? Yep, so you just need to get under 30.
Okay, well, I rolled a 46.
46, would you like to push it or spend luck, or would you like to accept it as it is?
You could ask T for advice because he's real good at first aid.
Yep, but he won't be able to roll himself because he's examining the body and found the knife. But he can offer you a roll with advantage, which means, Dominica, that you roll twice and you take the best of the two.
Right.
If you ask Teve for help.
Okay, as Dominica watches Teve pull out the knife, and seeing all the symbols and stuff on the rest of her body, she asked T, are these wounds self-inflicted?
All right, go ahead and roll.
38
38.
and 34.
34. Okay, would you like to
Spend
spend 4 luck to pass? Up
Yes,
to you.
please.
You spent a few minutes going over the body with Teve. It's easy for you. You didn't know this woman. Teve has to withdraw after a while, pick up the knife, take it to the other side of the room, sit with Blake for a little bit and contemplate it. But you haven't spent the last month working alongside this woman, trusting her with your life. So you go about it very clinically, looking for the signs that Teve told you to look for. And here's what you glean. The wounds on her head and neck are deep. They appear very hastily made. The blood loss would have been severe and inevitably fatal once the neck was slashed. This is the cause of death. You immediately realise her throat was cut, and with that, her life drained away. The older scars on the body, arms, and legs appear to have been made over the course of some months. Some of them appear to be fresher than others. And it's this, more than anything else, that tells you that these wounds probably were self-inflicted. The fact that they were all made over a long period of time, carved with such deliberation, it seems that at the very least the scarred wounds were self-inflicted, and, well, simplicity and would suggest that probably the death was too. Blake,
Mm-hmm.
while this is happening, you're flipping through that phrase book. You're vaguely aware of Teve and Dominica talking, whispering to one another. You hear Teve shake his head and say, yep, it's Violet, and you bury yourself deeper in the book, trying to shut away reality. Until you feel Teve sitting down on the bed next to you, and he forces you to look up from the book. And you've managed to somehow memorize some of the most fundamental basic phrases in the book. You may actually add Greek as a second language at
shit.
10%.
I turned to TV going, I've learned something that might be good for you and your fellow Australians. Now, this is going to be pronounced badly, but this works out as well because he's just learning it. I look at TV and just go, "Hello, me beer." That means I want a beer.
Yeah, mate. Most of the world speaks English. It's pretty easy to get a beer.
I just curse under my breath in like a very basic Greek word I just learned.
You call him a malacca.
What do you call my mother?
It's at this point that Dominique crosses the room, joins the rest of you, and you notice Teve holding in his hand that curved obsidian knife covered in blood. And Dominica stands in front of you between them, and she flips around the little book in her hand where she's been sketching the spirals. And Dominica, with your occult roll that you passed earlier, I will tell you that you do recognize these spirals. The spirals fold in upon themselves exactly 5 times, and they always go in a counterclockwise direction. You're not sure what the exact source of this wisdom is, but you remember reading in one of your books that this particular symbol is, in some cultures, invoked as a protection or ward against evil. And Blake, as she shows the two of you that sketch she's made of the spiral, I would like you to make a power check with advantage.
Let's check with 50. Well, that's a 17, but just for shits and gigs. Okay, that's a 10. That's a critical.
You see
I
the... Go ahead.
Oh, sorry. I didn't. Was I not supposed to be doing power roll?
Oh, no. Just
Okay.
Blake.
That's fine.
Because, Blake, as you see that spiral on the piece of paper, instantly your mind flashes back to only about an hour ago back in the hospital when you were talking to Yig. That same sequence of events flashes once more through your mind. A wooden floor with a plastic tarpaulin splattered with blood. The body is gone, and where it was are some burnt out candles and a shred of paper. Then a spiral, the same one that's on the page, glowing bright red in a black void. And then, once more, that figure standing in the darkness, raising its arms to the sky and calling upon the gate and the key to bridge the way. And then you're back with the others.
Yeah, I'm glad you repeated that because I had bridge and gate, not gate and key. I gotta correct that in my notes.
Oh, the gate and the key. Sorry, I got it wrong then. It was the gate and the key to bridge the gap.
Yeah, and then I'd like to relay and let Dominica know about the unholy pact I made with the serpent god.
Oh. Wait,
The
others didn't know that.
Yeah, Florence didn't mention that to you, did she, Dominica?
No.
Because
Oh
she
fuck,
didn't know.
that's right, shit.
Well, it's up to you. You can take it back
Yeah,
if
I
you
take
like.
it back. I take it back.
No. Teve already knew this.
Yeah,
He was
Teve-
listening in on
Oh
the
yeah,
conversation.
that's right.
And
Yeah.
he spilled
Yeah.
it to everyone else.
Teve knows, but you never told Florence. So do you? When you tell the other two about these visions, Teve doesn't seem to question it because Teve, you're not surprised. You know what's going on with Blake.
It's
but
just been that long.
Dominique looks back at you with confusion, and she asks, "How do you know these things?"
I take a big breath and I kind of step back a bit so they can both see me, and I just stand there concentrating, stare in the room, and my eyes blink like a snake.
Oh.
Teve, you've heard the conversation, but you haven't seen this. Teve and Dominica, I'd like you both to roll sand checks.
Sorry.
Yay, pass. 32.
Look, it's been that long, I forgot it. I was keeping it secret.
46. Yeah, I'm good.
That
He
would be a...
just looks in fascination, and he's like, "Oh, mate, I reckon I could make a sideshow out of you."
Yeah, Teve, you sort of expected him to do something like this eventually. So for you, the sand loss will be 1 point. For you, Dominica, that'll be a sand loss of 1d3.
Wow.
It takes you a second to compose yourself. As you see his eyelids slide sideways like a reptile, your first impulse is to scream, but then Florence didn't say that Blake was dangerous. She trusted him. It takes a few seconds to compose yourself, but the shock lingers in the pit of your stomach, and you feel a little bit more uncertain and a little bit more worried about what exactly your sister was caught up in.
I continue to explain. Going back to our first session. I had to do something that I'm not proud of, and I thought we were going to save a child, but no. I ended up making a pact with his name is Yig, and I'm bound to do his bidding. I'm not sure what for yet, but I'm still me. I promise I'm still me.
Were you able to read my notes in my character sheet?
I was, yes.
Okay, so will Dominica know about Yig or not? With like her really good dealings as an occultist curator.
I would say she has a chance. You can go ahead and roll a luck check on that.
Okay. Oh, that was an 8!
Oh wow!
An 8. Yig.
I'm just
Suddenly.
thinking. Sorry.
Go ahead, Teve.
I'm just thinking while this is all being explained, because this is all going over stuff that Teef knows. While Blake's filling Dominique in on all the gig stuff, can Teef pop down the hall and like just alert the police about the dead body?
Sure can. I assume neither Blake nor Dominique will stop him as he steps to leave the room.
Shouldn't we search the rest of the room?
Yeah,
and
I
then the cops
stopped
show
Teve.
up,
I
and then
stopped
they catch
Teve.
us in there, and then we get put in prison.
Well, we could.
What's that?
We can do it very carefully. This is obviously some sort of occult things going on that happened to our companion.
This is 1920s. They're not going to get here anytime soon.
Yeah, who's that?
Well, is it
You call
is it the town we're in? Like, it's not a small, but it's an average town.
It's an average-sized town. You'd say, like, if Teve were to call the cops, you probably got about, at the very least, 40 minutes to an hour before they turn up, if not longer.
Okay, Steve, how about this? We report it in 10 minutes.
How about I just go tell the boy to call the cops in half an hour?
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Teve steps out of the room and Dominica, suddenly it clicks. The symbol on the pocket watch, on Blake's pocket watch, is a symbol of Yig. And all you know about Yig is that he is apparently some sort of serpent king. He was worshipped by some people throughout history, but he's usually mostly been a minor god. No, the important thing about Yig, Dominica, is that the deep lore suggests that he is the patron god of a race, of a civilization that existed long before humanity. That he is the patron of the serpent people, and that any humans who serve him are, in effect, agents of a race that would displace your own.
Ooh. Dominica immediately distrusts Blake, but doesn't show it.
Crap. I've just lost words. The pocket symbol on my pocket watch was meant to be the elder sign.
Yes, but it also had stuff to do with Yig on it.
Oh.
She doesn't know about elder signs. This basically
Oh,
what I'm saying.
okay. Yep.
Yeah.
I getcha.
So, Teve, you head back down to the lobby, and the kid looks up at you and he says, "Oh man, you're back already? Oh, did you find anything?"
Dave sort of bends down to like eye height with the kid. Like, oh, mate, some pretty fierce stuff has happened in that room. We might need the police, but you know how I'm a bit like your hero in your comic. I'm just going to need a little bit of time to have a look into it to make sure no bad people were involved. So can you give the police a call in half an hour?
You gotta get clues, he says.
That's exactly it, mate.
Oh, but does that mean... His eyes go wide. Something bad happened to Miss Violet?
I'm afraid so, mate.
Oh boy, he says, suddenly excited. Way more excited than he should be after hearing that. Oh, it's like in the pulps. Oh, I have to see it. Can I see?
No, mate. No. It's a bad idea. That's a really, really bad idea.
Childhood trauma.
Oh man, he says. And then he goes back to his comic, thumbing to the next page. All right then. I'll call him in half an hour.
Thanks, mate. And as he's leaving, Teeve sort of stops for a second, pulls out a $5 note and goes, "Here you go, mate. Buy yourself some more comics later."
What's your credit rating?
It's a lot of comics for back then.
Yeah.
Oh, okay, then I give him $1 then. My credit rating's 50, so
I mean, you can give him $5 if you want. With 50, you easily would perceivably have $5 on you.
adult like I have tons of money, but I meant like
Yeah,
$5
to buy a
in
new
our
comic.
time.
I mean, you
yes.
could give him $5. It would make his month.
Yeah,
It's
I'll
up
just
to
give him
you.
$1. I'll give him $1.
He takes the dollar bill, and this is still like a comic costs like 10 cents. This is still like a year's worth of comics for him. And his face is broad, and he says, "Oh boy, okay, well, look, I won't mention anything this to Ma, and I'll tell the police that I'll tell them that you're investigators, and you found, as soon as you opened the door, you called for me to call, and I won't tell them that you were already there, okay?"
That's great, mate. That's great.
Oh man, I can't wait. Oh, I can't wait to see how Arizona stops them from getting the crystal cactus.
Alima. Alima.
You head back upstairs, Teve, and as you're on your way back to room 203, the door to 206 creaks. The doorknob begins to turn, and just as you're in the doorway of 203, about to step back in and rejoin your friends, the door to 206 opens, and a woman, perhaps no older than 20, with long black hair and almond brown eyes, steps uncertainly out into the hallway. Excuse me, she says to you.
What can I do for you, ma'am?
Is everything okay? I mean, I don't know the lady who lives in there, but I know some folks have been looking for her, and well, I heard a man scream before, and then a thump on my door, and...
Yeah, I'm afraid
You
there's
think-
been a bit of foul business in the room. We're currently investigating. I've just gotten the boy at the desk to. He's going to be giving the police a call to get them down here as well quite soon. I'm just. I'd advise not going in there though, because it's unfortunately a pretty nasty scene.
Clasps a hand to her mouth. Oh, my lord! Well, I can't see I'd spoken to her that much, but to Miss Violet, she kept to herself. It was always so quiet. Who could have done? You see her craning forwards, trying to peek over your shoulder to get a look into the room. What do you do?
Oh, I thought the sound cut out for a second.
No. Sorry. Sometimes I abruptly stop.
I sort of shift myself in so she can't see it. It's like, ma'am, it's really grisly. You don't want that sort of image in you stuck in your head.
Well, are you detectives? Do you work for the coroner? If something bad has happened in there, maybe you should all clear out and let the police handle it.
Man, we're investigators. We used to work with Violet.
Go ahead and make a persuade check for me, Teve.
Well, that's not going to go well.
Oh,
Wait, where is my persuade? Oh god, that's a 10. Uh,
Or I suppose you could frame it as an intimidate if you want.
Never
Like you
mind, I just
suddenly.
rolled an 8.
Ah, Nate, you got it. She doesn't seem to entirely buy it. But on the other hand, you get the sense she doesn't particularly care that you're not cops. To her, seeing these strange men in Violet's room, knowing that something has happened, you could see her eyes lighting up at the prospect of juicy gossip, but she knows that you're not going to give it to her, and so she tries another tack. Well, if you're investigating, I suppose you'd want to ask me if I heard anything strange from Miss Violet's room, right?
Dave just goes, oh, you have your smarts about you then. You're one step ahead of me on that one. Teve pulls out a notebook. Did you happen to hear anything happening from next door?
Well, here's what I think, Mrs. Marquez says, leaning in, lowering her voice. I think she has a jilted lover, is what I think. 'Cause see, a couple of nights ago, I heard a voice coming from that room. Someone was singing in there, but it weren't a woman's voice, it was a man's voice. Someone singing in the middle of the night. And I couldn't understand the lyrics or what he was singing about, but it was an awful song. Just hearing it put me on edge. It was the voice carried down the hall and under the door, and I couldn't sleep. I was shaking in my bed. And so I'm thinking maybe she had a jilted lover, and maybe she maybe she betrayed him, or maybe she stole something that belonged to him, or maybe he got angry and he came back to teach her a lesson. Her eyes are gleaming, shimmering with the prospect of more gossip. I mean, that sounds reasonable, don't you think?
Tade just slowly puts the notebook back in his jacket. And he just says, he sort of nods. Thank you, miss. That's mighty helpful of you. Yeah. Thank you so much. That's gonna be a real help to the case. And ushers her towards the back towards her room.
She looks very disappointed, but she doesn't say anything as she thanks you for your service, and I hope you find the bastard who did this. I hope you do. And you pull the door to her apartment shut, and then step back into 203 to join the others. Perhaps you think it might be prudent to shut the door behind you. But, Teve, I will say, as you step across the threshold once more back into the room, I will allow you to make another power check.
That is a 34. Let me just check my power. My power's 50.
As you step over the threshold, once again you feel it, like static electricity on your face. The whole room for a split second seems to shake, to tremble, and then it's gone. Behind you, the door, still open, looks out into the long hallway, and there's no sign of any movement. Do you shut the door to keep the nosy neighbor out?
Yeah, I shut the door.
Click! The door shuts, blocking the grisly scene from view, out of sight, out of mind. And I will make a note that the door is shut.
Oh no.
That's not good.
What have we done?
Is it shut or is it just locked?
Well, you'll have to find out when you check it, when you try to leave. You see Dominique and Blake still in the room, glaring at each other, an uncertain look on Dominique's face, and she visibly sighs with relief as she sees you step back into the room, Teve. And then you turn your mind back to the investigation. The room itself. I'd like everybody to make a spot hidden check for me, please.
But
Usually
hidden,
54.
but hidden. Oh, fuck you, dice. I got
Can I-
97.
Ooh,
I'm gonna
97.
spend 4
I got a regular.
For
I got a
luck.
regular pass at 44.
So that is 2 out of 3 passing. That is a success if you'd like to accept that. Or, if Dominica would like to try again, if you can get all 3 of you to pass, you'll get better results. It's up to you.
Okay, let's try my right hand. No.
Oh no.
And that was a failed push. I
Yep.
will bear that in mind. But luckily, it's not going to have dire consequences, because this was a group check and ultimately you passed. So, you spend a few minutes catching each other up on what you've found. The knife, the strange cuts on Violet's body, the markings, the scars. And then you turn your attention to her room in general. At first glance, everything in the room appears to be in order, except for, of course, Violet's body still lying on the tarpaulin, and as you see it lying there, Blake, you remember your vision that apparently, if that is true, underneath where Violet lies will be the stubs of black candles and a blood-stained shred of paper. There doesn't seem to have been a fight in the room. The furniture is upright, there are no bloody footprints anywhere. The only unusual trappings sit on the floor, in front of the corpse on the tarpaulin. 2 more black candles, each burned down to their stubs, lying a couple of centimeters from where Violet's feet ended up being. Inside the room, going clockwise from the doorway, are a wardrobe, bed, nightstand with lamp, an ornate bookcase that divides the room into 2, a window and radiator, a small table set in the corner, a once fancy upholstered chair, overhead cabinets built into one of the walls, and another table along the wall to the right of the door. All of this, of course, is on the map. Having taken stock of the room, you see there are quite a few options for what to search, but knowing that your time is limited, you'll probably have to be very smart about what you search and what you're attempting to look for. So, where do we begin?
Oh well, I think Blake should search the various amounts of books because library use and everything.
Yeah, naturally be drawn to them.
And because we've had luck for, and if there's anything under the bed or a loose floorboard.
All right, so we'll do. Which one would you like to do first?
We'll do the bookshelf.
Do the bookshelf first. All right, and Dominica, what would you like to do?
Considering she's the go-to occultist, I'm going to look for anything occulty-like, examine the layout of everything that you just said, of the witchy woo-woo stuff.
Yep. So what do you think sounds most promising to you, Dominica? If you were searching for occult items, would you go for the nightstand, or the wardrobe, or the cupboard, or perhaps the body itself?
I would go maybe. Well, I don't think she'd have an altar. I feel like she would, put things away as she does it, so she wouldn't have like a specific altar, maybe.
Fair enough. Some reasonable assumption to make. So, basically, you want to search the room for anything that might resemble an altar or any kind of thing that would be used in a ritual, is basically what you want to do.
Yeah. Yeah,
Cool.
see if she has like any. I would mention to Blake to see if she has like anything like occulty like. Something that he wouldn't expect would be occulty like.
Anything made of human flesh.
That's generally a good sign. And Teve, would you like to check any of the things in the room, or knowing that the other 2 are doing that, would you be like to be the one who finally moves the body out of the way to get to what's underneath?
Well, same as I'm already wearing gloves.
Alright, Teve, I'd like you to go ahead and make a strength check for me.
That is a 1.
Violet's a fairly slight woman, or she was in life. The physicality is not a problem here. What's a problem is that as you kneel over her and prepare to move her out of the way, you realize that almost every inch of her body is covered in blood. You try to look for a place to put your hands that's dry, and every time you do, you feel the blood soaking into your gloves. Eventually, you just shudder and grab her by the arms, pull her up and roll her to the edge of the tarpaulin so you can see underneath. And sure enough, just as Blake described in his vision, there are 2 more stubby, burnt-out black candles, and between them, what appears to be a single scrap of parchment entirely covered in blood. Whatever was written on it, you'll never know, at least not unless there's a way to somehow clean this blood off without damaging the paper. Teve, go ahead and make me a library use check. No, not Teve, sorry. Blake, go ahead and make me a library use check to check the books.
That is an 11, so that is a critical success.
Blake, the bookcase that sprawls across the center of the room is finely carved. It has glass-fronted doors. Carved into the upright mouldings that support the doors on either side are the busts of 2 flute-playing cherubs. There is a drawer at the bottom of the unit, and you pull it open to check what's inside and see that it contains a folded bedsheet and a pillowcase. All of the woodwork is detailed in intricate scrolls. That's not what interests you, though. You're here for the books, and the bookcase does not disappoint. On the shelves, there are books on finance and banking, a few travel books for obscure places, and a couple of occult books, including Myths and Legends of Ancient Greece and Rome by E.M. Behrens, and The Interpretation of Dreams by Sigmund Freud. The top shelf does not have enough books to fill it, so a bookend has been used to keep the books upright. The bookend, you shudder as you see it, Blake, is a monstrous thing. Some sort of human-like creature with the face of a squid. It's only a statuette, not a doesn't even move, or it's not even looking at you, but Blake, you can feel this intense sense of hatred, of instinctual anger and bloodlust seeming to emanate from it. Just the sight of these bookends on the shelf is enough to make the pit of your stomach twist itself in a knot. You feel your fists clench as a wave of anger shoots down your spine, as gone as suddenly as it came.
I'm gonna shoot my shot here. Can I do it?
You sure can if you like.
That's a 92. Can I push that?
You can push it.
Okay. That is a 9. That is just on a pass.
You have a theory of what these bookends might represent, but you can't ever be certain about these things. You are about 90% sure, I would say, that these bookends, possessions of Violet, apparently, depict the great Cthulhu, the Lord of R'lyeh, in the depths of the ocean.
I point the statue to Dominique, who has been big quality one so far. Dominica, I point to the statue. What do you make of this?
I walk over and look at it. Do I? I'm gonna have to do like a roll here.
Yeah, in a cult or something.
So I will point out, Dominique, that as he points at one of the statuettes, you don't feel anything. That sense of instinctual anger and rage that Blake felt, they don't appear to be things that you register. Just in case that ever comes up and Blake mentions what he felt upon seeing it. You can go ahead and make a Cthulhu Mythos roll, or if you don't have that, you can roll a cult, and depending on how you do, I will tell you what you see.
Yeah, I rolled a 13.
A
When you're a
13.
cult?
Occult,
But
yeah.
he drew a 31.
So you've never heard of... You wouldn't know specifically that this is Cthulhu. You may have heard the name Cthulhu, but not seen his likeness. Either way, either way, you are sure, Dominica, that these bookends depict some sort of demonic figure, some sort of dangerous, evil figure. The type of thing that, as an occultist, you would advise to never, ever deal with, because only misery can ever be an outcome of dealing with this type of creature. And only the very stupid or the very greedy would ever entertain such a thing.
Okay.
Blake, is there anything else on the bookshelf that you'd like to take a look at?
So I've looked through all the books, correct?
Yep, and the two that stuck out to you were Myths and Legends of Ancient Greece and Rome and The Interpretation of Dreams.
Well, firstly, can I take those? Or I look at the things.
Yeah, sure can. You lift them out of the bookshelf and they come out and there's nothing hidden between them. A quick flip through reveals that they seem to be normal books, like not even the type of books that would be secret lore. These appear to be books that you could purchase in any bookstore.
Can I look like, because I kind of know what I'm looking for, because like all the books in ordinary. Can I look at the cherubs or just feel around on the wood to see if like there's a hidden hatch or anything?
All right. I will ask you to go ahead and make an intelligence roll for me.
Intelligence. Let's go. That is
I will give you a choice as well. If you want, while you're feeling around the wood and searching for compartments, will you make an effort to not touch those Cthulhu bookends?
I thought you said they were cherubs.
But there's cherubs carved into the shelf itself, and then there's two Cthulhu bookends up on the shelf. So while you're feeling around, are you going to make an effort to avoid touching those, or do you more interested in doing a thorough search?
Well, we're in a rush. I'm gonna regret this, but a thorough search.
All right. So instead of a hard intelligence, a normal intelligence success is what I'm looking for. Go ahead.
Well, that was a 41 when you originally asked me to roll it, so that's a pass.
I'd like you to make a sand check for me as well, please.
Yep.
40. And that is a 20.
20. You lean into the bookcase and you start tapping the back of it and the shelf, pulling books out, flipping through them, looking for something, anything that shouldn't be. You take a step back from the bookshelf and you do notice that the space between the drawer at the bottom of the bookcase and the bottom shelf is too big. And that tells you that there is probably something secret underneath the bottom shelf. And while you're looking for a kind of latch or lever or something, one of your hands accidentally brushes against one of the Cthulhu bookends. You suddenly experience a brief vision of an underwater scene where distinct and gigantic dark forms send shivers of dread through your body. It only lasts a second, You barely even register that it's there, but once again you feel that intense, instinctual anger. Cthulhu and Yig are rival entities in the pantheon of the Great Old Ones, and you have alerted one of the enemies of your god
Keep.
to the fact that you are here in the world of the living, carrying out his will. You don't lose any san, but I do want you to remember that this has happened. Finally, you find what you're looking for, a latch behind one of the bookends. You slide it open, and sure enough, the secret compartment at the bottom of the shelf drops open, revealing a large gap. And this is a veritable jackpot, Blake. Inside the secret compartment, there are stacks upon stacks of pieces of paper covered in numbers and spreadsheets, what appear to be accounting letters and forged receipts. You can tell they're forged because none of these businesses actually exist in Bridgewater. There is a second knife made of obsidian, identical to the one that Teve found earlier, and, perhaps most interesting of all, wrapped in silk cloth in the corner, a wicked-looking tome, one that you instantly recognize as the book that Violet lifted from that library repository in the swamp.
Oh.
The golden lettering on the front cover reads, "The Book of Dream Memories." As you flip it open, your heart sinks in disappointment. Whatever the content of the book doesn't appear to be in English. Perhaps Greek. You recognize a couple of those words from the phrase book you were reading earlier.
Well,
Before you do anything with that book, though, we'll go to the others to see what they find. So, Teve, you have this bloodied scrap of paper in your hand, and you can see the imprints that the pen left on the paper. There is something written on this paper, but because it is utterly drenched in blood, it will be very hard for you to decipher it.
Because I am a curator, I would know how to try and lift the blood from the parchment paper.
I just bushcraft
Yeah, if you want.
with advice from Dominique.
Go ahead, roll me a bushcraft with advantage.
Well, that's a 9.
Okay.
That's 36, so we'll go with the 9.
Go
That
with the
is
9?
a extreme pass.
Lovely. So Dominique, she immediately starts explaining how to clear the blood off the paper, or at least make it damp so you can scrape some of it off. She starts to recite this list of techniques that archivists and curators use to restore old texts, and you just say, "Yeah, no, that's all right, she'll be right," and you pull out your billy and you start to boil some tea, and the steam floats up and you hold the paper above the steam, and like magic, the blood seems to melt away, dripping down onto the plastic tarp into the pool of blood below.
oh dear.
Oh,
There is...
seeing as you've brought up the Billy, can I use my super sanity?
You sure
oh my
can.
god, forgot about that.
With that roll of 9, I will say you've brewed enough super sanity for 1 drink. So would you like to drink it yourself, or is it going to someone else?
I think Blake could use it.
I'm fine.
You brush the last of the detritus off the paper with your fingers, and then you hand the still boiling billy can to Blake and tell him to drink up. And Blake, if you can stomach that, it'll give you 1d6 san points back.
Do I need a roll to see if I can stomach, or?
You do. You need to roll a constitution for me, because that came straight off the billy, and the billy is still whistling. The room just going.
Okay, that is a 5.
First, you gasp in pain as it burns your tongue, then you force it down and it tastes like dirt and mud. But
Tastes like the swamp.
it tastes like swamp, but then in spite of that, you feel warmness flooding into the extremities of your fingers and toes, and you feel slightly calmer, you think.
Okay, what is it? D6?
D6 of sanity.
Or better than a kick in the pants. Like 47.
47. Better than nothing.
Yep.
So I'm going to put a handout up in Discord. Now that Teve has cleared the blood away from the paper, he motions for you to gather around, and the three of you gather around the center of the room, around Violet's body, as Teve passes the paper to Dominica, and she reads it, and then she passes it to
So
you.
how much time has passed as well?
I'd say only about 10-15
Okay.
minutes. You still, your half hour is still not yet to
Okay.
come, but you're starting
We've
to.
still got time for them to get here.
Yeah.
So,
So I'll say like each search action you do takes like 10 to 15 minutes, and we're still got to get to Dominique's in a sec. So the parchment, splattered with dried blood, has strange writing on it. I can't pronounce Greek, so I'm just going to tell you that it's Greek. It looks like the parchment was torn from a book. The side is ripped, it's not straight. And, Blake, there are only 2 words in the Greek that you recognize. The ones that are not Greek at all. The ones that spark dread in any language. The second to last line on the parchment. Ia Yog Sothoth.
Blake backs up a little bit and looks down at Violet and tries to Teve and Dominica. Well, I don't know what Violet was in, but this is not good. She was either killed by knowing too much, or that could be her handwriting. I'm not sure. I would have to take this note back with me to translate it further.
Yeah.
What language family is Greek?
Well, are you like your sister? Do you have Macedonian?
I have Macedonian, which is Baltic Slavic language families, and French, which is Romance Latin language
Oh
family.
shit.
Yep. And Greek is not quite either of those. However, Greek and Macedonia are like right next to each other. And I would say there'd probably be enough loan words in Macedonian that you could probably get the gist of what this says, but it would be difficult. It would be
Okay, so
a
I'd have to,
hard
like-
success on your Macedonian.
Would I be able to, like, if we take it back, would I be able to, like, study it for a night?
isn't there a Greek word book there?
Yeah, and the book, if you take
Yeah.
the book that Blake read,
Okay.
it might assist you. It still won't be very easy, but yeah, if you're able to take this, and spend the night translating it, you can. But there is also the page that was torn out, and that page might be possible to translate here and now if you wanted to spend the rest of the time until the police show up doing that.
I don't think. I think we should carefully, without trying to make it look like the room's been disturbed. We should take it. I'm gonna try to was there any dust on the bookcases, or was it like relatively cleanish?
Relatively clean. It looked like it'd been regularly used.
All right, okay. So if I put stuff back carefully, I wouldn't have to worry. Like this
Yeah,
is really getting into it. Like they see dust prints.
Yeah, no, it doesn't look. You don't think there would be any evidence that the bookshelf has been tampered with. it would be up to you whether you want to put everything that was in the secret compartment back in the secret compartment, or if you would like to take that tome.
Oh, I'm going to take
The-
everything in the secret compartment and lock it back up and make it look like it's still hidden.
Yep. So you're gonna put the book back. Is you gonna examine anything else before you close it back up? The accounting ledgers or anything like that?
When I said I'm going to take everything from that apartment.
Oh, you're going to take it out, yeah, not put it back. Yep, cool. Okay, so now we have to do Dominica's search action. So you're searching around the room and, like, you're assisting with the others, and in between assisting them, you're just looking for anything of occult significance. So I'd like you to go ahead and make me an occult roll, please.
Yep. Oh, honey, this is really painful trying to roll with my right hand.
I'm sorry.
Yeah. Ooh, that's a 72. Occult is 80.
Yep, so that's a pass. So you search the wardrobe first. And nothing in there other than clothes and shoes. Search the cupboards, trying to find any sort of reliquary or altar or anything like that that would suggest what the goal of this ritual was. And you find nothing. Taking a look at the scene itself, how her body is positioned and the presence of those candles, you get the impression that the candles were originally placed on either side of the tarpaulin, and that when she died and fell down, she knocked a couple of them out of place. And with that in mind, you can sort of reconstruct the original configuration of the ritual. And you can confirm that this did definitely appear to be some sort of gruesome magical ritual. But there's not enough information to determine the intended result. That is, until you search the last thing in the room that seems to hold any promise, and that is the nightstand. And by the lamp on the nightstand is an old book, so old that the lettering has faded from the cover. You flip it open, Florence, and this book is entitled The Dreamer's Dictionary. It's an old dream dictionary. You know, one of those books that has dreams of different subjects and you can look them up and they'll tell you what they mean.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
This is one of those, but it's an incredibly old version. Like, you're not entirely certain, but you think that this one is perhaps a bit more esoteric than normal, because the meanings of the dreams, as you skim through, all seem to have some sort of occult significance. It talks about planets aligning, the stars being right, of positive and negative energy, of certain dreams being harbingers for specific conditions for casting spells. At the back of the book, there are a couple of blank pages, and these blank pages are covered in messy, scrawled handwriting. Perhaps made by Violet herself. Would you like to try to make sense of these writings,
Yeah.
Dominica? Go ahead and roll me an own language check, please.
My own language is Macedonian.
Okay, well, roll
remember?
Yes, that's right,
my
that's your first
English
language.
is other and French is other.
Roll your English for me, please. Or you can roll intelligence and try to get a hard success, which is under half. Either one.
Ooh, that's an 18.
Let's go.
Ooh, very nice.
And English is at 55. Intelligence is 70.
Lovely. So, it seems that the last handful of pages of this book 10, 15 or so pages are intended to be used as a place for the owner of the book to write down notes, to write down their decipherings of their dreams or keep track of that information. And it looks like whoever owned this book, if it was indeed Violet, was using it as a kind of dream journal. An initial reading, which takes about 5 minutes, reveals that the writer of the journal was obsessed with returning to a place they refer to as the Dreamlands. She was frustrated that she no longer seemed able to travel to this place while asleep. Entry after entry is filled with frustration or simply reads, "No dreams again." There are fevered scrawlings about a missing fiancé and desperation to go back, to find him, to bring him back. Towards the end of the book, you see the name of your sister Florence mixed in here. It seems that at some point Violet became racked with guilt. She became convinced that Florence and this missing fiancé would be found in this Dreamlands, and she seemed pretty determined to find a way to get there. The final page contains numerous descriptions of vivid dreams, where Violet talks about meeting a powerful being who promised her a path into the land of dreams if certain rituals are performed.
Ooh.
The last thing she writes is how the dreams and the contact from this being made the text that she read in what she calls the tome make so much more sense to her. I'd like you, Dominica, to make a sand check for me, please.
Oh, yay. 1!
Oh, yay.
One. Alright, lose 1 point of sanity and put 1 point in your Cthulhu mythos, please.
Woo!
Do you inform the others of the contents of this journal?
Yes. Even though she has her belongings, she didn't really go through like her notes and stuff, so she doesn't know about like Florence's own dream instances. So she'd probably want to mention it and see if they know any if Florence spoke about anything like this.
So Teve and Blake, I'd like each of you to make a Cthulhu mythos roll for me,
I
please.
said mine was 10.
Okay.
That is a 49. That's a negative.
It's 51, and I've only got 5 kilometers.
Yep. Alright, so I will tell you that, yeah, the Dreamlands. It has an ominous ring to it, but it doesn't really mean anything to you. What it seems like is that Violet was attempting to reach some sort of alternate plane of existence, but it's uncertain whether or not this was real or simply a product of her madness. Either way, if you wanted to know more, there's only one avenue you can follow, and you all at once your eyes turn to look at that thick tome that Blake still clutches that he found in the secret compartment.
You're up, Bookworm.
I'm
gonna take the dream journal.
just checking in with the time. Blake checks in with the time, seeing how much he can peruse through before we have to skedaddle.
Well, based on your pocket watch, the police would have been called about a minute or two ago. So from this point, you're on borrowed time. They could turn up at any moment. Though you're pretty confident you've got at least enough time to maybe translate a couple pages before you leave.
I look at Teve and Dominica. What do you guys think? Should we wait till we get back to the university, or should we have a look now?
I would go back to the university with our stuff that we found.
I'd say we can translate like 1 or 2 pages before the cops get here, and let them know that we didn't murder someone and ditch.
That'll probably turn out well.
That said, you're pretty certain the police would not be aware of this book's existence, or indeed the secret compartment.
And
So it's entirely up to you. If you commit to translating it now, I will say that will be the last action you can do until something happens.
Okay. What do you think?
Up to you, Bookie
I'll
boy.
leave this up to chance. Okay, I've got a coin. Alright. Odds. We look through a few pages of the book. Even, we leave it for the university. Okay, and that is a 1.
Odd. You gather the other 2 around, Blake, and you head over to the desk next to the door. You brush the blank notepad away and make room, and you lay out the big tome, and right next to it put the piece of paper that was with the body and the Greek phrase book propped open between them. You won't be able to get all the information that is contained within, so you'll need to make some clever decisions. What would you like to translate first? The torn up piece of parchment that was with the body, which had Yog-Sothoth written upon it? Or would you like to make a start on the Book of Dream Memories?
Well, I feel like we can just take the parchment with us, and it'll be easier to do that. Yeah, we'll start with the book.
Alright. So, I will let you, Blake, roll that newly gained Greek skill.
Oh, shit.
And I will also allow Dominica to roll her Macedonian.
Okay.
And if she is able to get a hard success on the Macedonian...
1!
Well done! Go ahead and roll your Greek as well, Blake, and we'll see if you're able to add anything to that.
That's a double star.
Double star? I don't know about your dice.
Is that, Hold on. That's a double 0.
Would you like to push that?
Yes. That's a 98.
98. Failed pushed roll.
Yes.
So, because that was a pushed roll, I'm sorry, but the consequences are going to be very, very mean. So, you thought that maybe you could make a start on the book, at least not translate it in detail, but like get a gist of what the book is about, try to glean some information that would shed some light on why Violet has done this to herself. But adding a Greek tourist phrase book and someone who speaks Macedonian into the mix ends up confounding everything, making it more and more confusing, and 20 or so minutes pass by before you've even managed to translate the first pages, and it's a very surface level translation. This book seems to be taken from the library in the swamp, and that in and of itself tells you that the lore contained within is probably potentially dangerous. Written in Greek, this book is the barely coherent account of an Irish monk from the 9th century CE, describing the dreams he experienced after reading some ancient scrolls he discovered in the monastery's library. This edition of the book appears to have been published in 1658. It is a later reproduction of the original, bound in cracked and worn leather and frail with age. A bookmark has been placed in the book, noting a page of interest, so that's where you start. The details in the book are quite confusing, as one might expect of transcribed dreams. The writer of the book claims to be making regular visits in his dreams to a place he calls the Dreamland. It suggests that the writer was having dreams in which they were reading a dream book, and sections of this book, the Book of Dream Memories, appear to be an attempt to write down what the writer saw in this dream book. Where the bookmark is placed, there seem to be instructions for how to enter this dream realm. One of the pages here is torn out. It appears to be where the blood-stained page was taken from. But the opposite page has a section of diagrams showing spiral shapes drawn upon a human body, just like the ones on Violet's corpse. You're only able to properly translate the very end of the instructions, which read, "Once preparing your body as the vessel, free thy mind from thy... free thy mind." Sorry.
It's alright. Have some some water.
Yes, good idea. The final line of instructions seems to involve an obsidian knife and speaking aloud a chant found on the bookmark page. It states that the petitioner must prepare their vessel, their body, and then free thy mind from thy fleshy prison. Render thy body still, and use the knife to sever the cord that binds one to this world. The page showing the spiral diagrams appears to be another ritual. This one says the petitioner must first perform this ritual, the one of the spirals, to ensure thy vessel is pure and prepared as living armor which only the consecrated blade may pierce. And that's all you get.
I think we need to take everything that we have, including the note, the wrapped up dagger, and everything that I found, and we need to skedaddle.
Just as well. Teve loudly announces that the cops will be due any moment, so you bundle everything you've found up, step once more over Violet's body, and make your way to the door to prepare to leave.
As Tave's leaving, he just sticks the knife back in its place.
Back where he found it, right onto the body.
Just slide it back in. There. No one's touched it.
So, Teve, recall before I asked if you wanted to shut the door, and you said you did shut the door.
Yeah.
Oh no.
Well, it's at this point where Blake, you reach for the door handle and move to open the door, only to find that the door handle does not turn.
Oh no.
The door does not budge.
Guys, the door's not opening. The handle's not even moving.
What floor are we on again?
Sorry, what did you ask?
What floor are we on again?
Well, you're on the second floor.
I've got a window.
Teve and Teve and Dominica, you heading to the window?
Are there any, like, fire escapes outside the window?
I've got a rope.
Perhaps. Teve, you've got a rope. Teve's already got his rope out and he's unfurling it, and you run to the window, Dominique, to take a look and see if there is indeed a fire escape, and I'd like you to make a sand check as you reach that window.
Oh no.
Oh no.
Both of us, or
That's a 51.
What's your san?
Is that a...
51. current sanity is
So
67.
that's a pass.
Ah, that's a pass. But that's going to be a loss of 1d4 san for a pass.
1d4. D4. One.
Oh, nice.
One. Well, better than nothing. So, Teve and Blake, you hear Dominica suddenly gasp with shock. You turn around and you see her standing in front of the window, one hand covering her mouth, which is agape, the other hand just pointing at the window. You gather around, and all three of you peer outside and see nothing.
Oh.
Nothing but white, stretching on forever.
Oh dear.
At this point, Blake starts to like really freak out.
As he does, yeah, he immediately starts muttering and shaking and, oh, the window. No, we're not here. We're not there. We're not anywhere. The three of you are gathered around the window. The window that leads to nowhere. Then you hear it. The sound of the plastic tarpaulin being disturbed. You whirl around just in time to see Violet's body rising from the ground.
Oh no.
As she pulls herself to her feet, the cut on her neck widens, and with a slosh, her head falls backwards, dangling off the back of her neck by a single thread of flesh.
Oh.
The spiral carved into her crown begins to unravel as the skin around her face peels away, revealing the bone underneath, and the bloodied shreds of skin hang down over the neck like strands of soggy, thick hair. And then the gash on the throat twists into the shape of a wicked smile, and like a mouth, it begins to open. Everyone make a sen check for me,
Yep.
please.
Yeah, dude, that was coming.
Yeah.
44, alright, pass.
That's a fail.
Oh, 5! Let's
I
go!
failed.
Blake, go ahead. If you've passed, that is a san loss of 1d3, and for a failure, that will be a san loss of 1d8.
Oh.
Woo, that's a
D3.
well. I rolled a 2, but that would be a 1, right?
Yeah.
How fucked are you?
I was an 8.
Ooh. Yep. This is bad. Make me an intelligence check. See if you comprehend once more the madness that is
That's a
unfolding.
3.
You're lucky.
Yeah. My intelligence 70. That was a 74. I know full well what's going on.
No, if your intelligence is 70, you rolled a 74. You failed. You are okay. Barely.
I thought you had to
No, you have to
Wait.
pass the intelligence
Oh.
test to understand. You're lucky.
Okay.
You've been given mercy. Dominica opens her mouth and lets out an ear-splitting scream. And if this room was still attached to reality, were still present in the world of the waking and the living, the woman across the hall would hear that scream, would perk up, excited for more juicy gossip, but instead, no one hears Dominica's scream. It echoes through the room and onwards into the void, where it will echo forever and ever. You, Blake, you.
Yep.
You take a step back. You take a step back, and stand there, frozen in place, as the thing that was Violet rises to its feet, and you watch that gash mouth open, and it whispers your name. Oh, Blake. Blake. We can do it. We can save Florence. We can bring her back. We can bring her back.
Florence? Ow!
Oh.
The
Oh no.
the gash mouth smiles, and then once more it opens, and this time all three of you hear it. A deep, ear-rending, soul-crushing voice that begins to sing.
Why was he born?
What do you do?
Well, Blake is not entranced, very frightfully intrigued and hope irrationally hope starting to rise. He's not thinking straight that there's a chance to save Florence, so Blake takes a hesitant step forward.
Dave's already got the rope in his hand. He's lassoing.
Well.
Dominica just shouts, "Stop!"
In the name
Stop.
of love.
So, Teve, you spoke to the woman across the hall before, and you were told of a strange singing emanating from the room that shocked her to her core. So, out of the three of you, you are the one who has the choice. Upon hearing that it begins to sing, you can block your ears, but if you do this, you won't be able to pull Blake back.
No. Well, I've done all I could for Blake. I'm sorry for.
Oh god damn it.
Do you shout to Dominica to cover her ears now?
Yeah. As I cover my own.
And Dominica, what do you do?
I follow Teve. I do what he says.
You clamp your hands to your ears just as the evil song begins, ruminating, crooning in a language of guttural vowels and long-winded, alien-sounding consonants, a language that is clearly inhuman, a language that seems to contain within it the wisdom about the fundamental nature of the universe. You are spared this, and as you clamp your hands to your ears as hard as you can still hear the hum, the warbling of the voice, but mercifully are spared the lyrics, and you're able to maintain control of yourself and your actions for now. But you, Blake, you, who are already transfixed, must make a power check at disadvantage, please.
That is 77, so yep, that's a fail.
77. Violet's voice exits the mouth. What the others hear as that horrific song of despair and madness and absolute wisdom, you hear as Violet calling you towards her, beckoning with an outreached hand. Come! They're waiting for us! They're waiting to be saved, and only we can do it. Only we can cross the veil. Oh, Yog-Sothoth, the gate and the key, answer my prayer and allow us to breach the void, to create a bridge. And then she reaches out both hands towards you.
Yeah, I'm still transfixed, so I doubt there's...
There is a voice in the back of your head telling you instinctually, no, no, get back, get away! The voice, perhaps, of Yig, desperately trying to protect one of his own. And so I'll give you a choice. You can try to focus on Yig's voice, try to take back some measure of control, or you can give in. Follow what she wants for now and see what happens.
After hearing that, the mental fight in my head has begun. Like, "Oh, what if there's a chance to save Florence? What if the other voice is right and I need to snap myself out of it?" Start hyperventilating and like stands at a standstill. Like, calm down, calm down, and like gives in to voice in his head, which, oh yeah, we assume that's Yig.
He assumes so. Alright, you're going to try to focus on Yig's voice, upon your master. And Teve and Dominica, you guys are watching, your hand still clasped to your ears as Blake takes a cautious step forwards as he stops and stares at this thing, somehow transfixed upon its terrible song, transfixed upon that guttural, inhuman voice. Blake,
Yes.
you have a choice here. You may roll your Cthulhu mythos, or you may attempt an extreme power check.
Either way, they're both 10.
This is gonna be hard.
43.
43. You can push this if you like. This isn't combat.
Oh, what do you think, guys?
But I will caution you, this is a pushed roll where the results will be very bad if you fail.
Yep. Oh.
Do it. Do it.
What do you think, Crystal? Got one for yes.
Archie
I'm
says
not
yes.
I'm not seriously saying yes. I'm saying do it.
48.
48.
Oh,
You close your eyes. You close your eyes, you clamp them shut, trying to focus on the voice of Yig, but instead, in the blackness, you see the face of Florence. That same waterlogged, dead, bloated face from your dream in the hospital. She reaches out a hand, reaching out to you, beckoning to you, and Violet's voice, soft, friendly, motherly, coaxes you. Yes, come, take my hand. We will go to her. We will find her. We will bring her peace.
I drop everything that I'm holding. Lawrence, I'm coming. Lawrence.
Blake reaches out, and Teve and Dominica, all you can do is watch, stunned, as he takes Violet's bloodied, scarred hand in his own and takes a step towards her. The instant his fingers clasp into hers, the evil song stops. The gash mouth twists once more into a smile. And then, the blood that is pooled on the tarpaulin, the pool in which Blake and the thing now stand in the center of, begins to roil and bubble as if it were boiling water and twist and squirm as if it were alive. The violet thing nods once and, with Blake clasped in her hand, takes a step forwards into the bubbling maelstrom and slowly begins to sink down into the pool of blood.
Before I fully disappear, I turned towards the others and little snake blink.
You see Blake, his ankles sinking into the tarpaulin, and then past his ankles, up to his knees, and then up to his waist. He looks back at you, he blinks, and he smiles. And the two of you know you have only seconds to act if you're to save him before he's gone forever.
Well, we've had a good run.
Steve, quick, lasso him!
I mean, sure, it's still in my hands, but may as well. Bloody cultists.
And Dominica, what would you like to do? Or, since this is your first rodeo, I will allow you to make an intelligence check, which is called an idea check, just to see if any inspiration manages to spring up in this desperate moment.
Yeah. Archie, I'm gonna need my hand. Thank you, bud. Oh, that was a 9! Thanks, Archie.
You see Teve frantically scrambling for his rope so he can lasso the thing and pull it back along with Blake, but before he fully unfurls the rope, your gaze casts over the book of dream memories lying there on the desk, still open with your scrawled translation notes next to it. Make sure to prepare thy vessel, thy body. Consecrate thy flesh, and only the ceremonial knife shall pierce it, to cut the cord that binds you to this world.
So, because he didn't, cut himself with the sword knife thing. Does that mean this is all in our heads?
You can think whatever you think, but a flash of sudden inspiration occurs to you that if her killing herself with the knife is what caused this, then perhaps the knife is the key, but you didn't translate enough to know what to do with it. You'd have to pick. Grab the knife and plunge it into Violet, or plunge it into Blake.
Oh.
Archie, what are we doing? He's asleep.
Well,
Archie?
Luckily, lucky for him, he doesn't have to sit through this trauma.
Alright, let's plunge it into Violet. See what happens.
The knife is lying there. Teve, I remember you said you put the knife back where you found it, which means...
Still in Violet.
Which means, Dominica, the hilt... The knife is not still in Violet, because remember he found it under
that's
her.
right.
What it means is that the knife is there, floating on the surface of the bubbling blood, about an arm's reach from you, Teve and Dominica, but just far enough away that you could conceivably slip and fall and join these two as they sink into the depths.
Oh no.
You can try. Go ahead, Teve. Make me a bushcraft check. In these close quarters, however, it ain't gonna be as easy as it is out in the open, so it's gonna be a hard bushcraft check. You got it. Luckily, you had the rope ready, and as soon as Dominica shouts the knife, you change your trajectory. You were about to lasso You were about to lasso Blake, pull him back, and at the last moment, you flip, turn around, and oh joy, oh joy! The lasso latches onto the hilt of the knife. You yank, and as you yank, you feel something pulling back on the rope, Teve. You look and you see there in the roiling blood tendrils of red, tentacles of congealed blood reaching up, grabbing the knife, trying to pull it back as the creature, as the thing sinking into the middle, opens its mouth and begins to scream a long, high-pitched whine. No!
It's okay, buddy.
What do you do, Teve?
I keep pulling.
Keep pulling. Go ahead, make me a strength check, and it will be opposed by the creature.
Okay, let's see how we go. Oh, is this combat?
Yeah, it's a combat roll.
This will be, because you're directly opposing the thing.
Okay, because that's just a regular.
Oh,
Just a regular. You yank as hard and fast as you can, and manage to rip the knife free of that tendril holding it back, but then, like a whip of its own, the edge of the pool of blood lashes out, strikes the knife, and with a clatter, the knife is flung across the room, over the bookshelf, and slides under the bed.
Oof.
that was not.
By now, you look over at Blake. The blood is up to his chest. He seems resigned to his fate. A blank, nonchalant look on his face as he sinks lower and lower. It's up to you, Dominica. The knife is under the bed. You're slightly closer than Teve. Can you scramble around the bookshelf and gather it up in the scant few seconds that Blake has left? Or is there something else you would like to do?
I don't know. What would I need to roll for?
It'll be a dex roll to get to the knife, and then it will be a fighting melee to plunge it into either Violet or Blake.
Those are my best stats.
Oh dear God.
Well, you could try it if you want, Teve, but to get around the bookshelf, you'll have to risk crossing the center of the room and stepping in the pool of blood.
Can I jump over it with Dex?
If you want, you can try.
Okay, because I've got like 80 in Dex.
You see Dominica about to lurch, about to sprint, about to scramble towards the bed and go for the knife, but you're faster than her. She's done her part. She's told you what you need to do. Now it's time to do it. Teve, go ahead and make me a hard dex check to get there.
Okay, so I need at least a 40. Come on. Actually, no, I'm going with my left hand here. This feels weird. That's a 22.
20. Ooh. You take a running leap. The violet creature simply stares as you sail through the air, landing on the other side of the tarpaulin. The back of your left heel slips for just a second, and in that split second, you feel what it's like. As you feel the back of your foot sink into the blood, and it feels not like standing on solid ground, but as if there is nothing there at all, as if you're standing on the edge of a cliff that drops off and falls into nothingness. You take a moment to steady yourself and then rush for the bed. Feeling around underneath, you find the knife? Or do you?
Dun, dun, dun.
Make me a luck check.
Luck check?
Go
Yeah,
ahead.
I've got 81 luck.
Oh, no.
Oh, don't fuck this up. 47.
47. You're patting gun in the shadows under the bed until you feel something long and sharp, and you hope and you pray this is what you're looking for, and you pull your hand out and your heart rises. It is the knife, the blood-stained obsidian knife. You turn to the center of the room. Violet's eviscerated, skinless head stares up at you from the pool of blood. Blake next to it. The blood passes over his chin as he sinks lower and lower. Who are you going to plunge the knife into, Teve?
Coming home, Doris.
So we want to be stabbing. No, wait.
Hey,
What? Sorry, what was the thing before?
It said, use the knife to cut free the cord that binds you to this world.
Okay.
Once your body is prepared, once the spirals have been painted and your body is made as living armor, only the consecrated knife may pierce it.
Okay, so I'm gonna stab her.
Let's hope you were right. Go ahead, make me a fighting melee check, please.
That is a 18.
18. I'm going to roll her. I won't tell you what she rolled, not yet.
Does it matter that mine was a hard pass?
Yours was a hard. It does matter. I'll tell you what happens. You rush forwards, clasping the knife in both hands. You raise it above your head, and you're about to plunge it down into the... Go ahead.
Can I spend luck to make that an extreme pass?
You can if
but
you
it's
want.
a combat roll, isn't it?
Okay.
It is, but this is the role that determines whether someone gets to live or die. So I will, since he's not the one whose life is in immediate danger, I'll allow him to spend luck.
Okay, cool. I will do that for an extreme.
You rush forwards, raising the knife in both hands above your head, and you bring it down. As you rush towards it, you feel yourself beginning to sink down into the ground, into the sloshing, roiling blood, and as the blade comes down inches away from the base of the severed neck, the blood around you roils. You feel your whole body tremble as a red tendril reaches up and grabs your wrist, pulling the knife back a fraction of an inch, just enough. Just enough to stop you from plunging it in.
I whack the base of the knife with my other hand.
Slam it in. Go ahead, make me a strength check.
Toss dice. That is a 37. My strength is 60.
60. And you got an extreme before, so this will do it. You're very lucky, Blake. You wrestle with this arm that is comprised of congealed blood and gore and viscera. You grit your teeth and you push and you push. In the background, you're vaguely aware of Dominica pressed up against the back wall, her mouth open, breathing heavily, hyperventilating as the most terrifying moment of her life plays out before her. The blade comes down ever closer, and then pierces the skin, plunges into the gash that serves as the violet thing's mouth. And it begins to scream, begins to wail in pain, screams so high, so sharp that the force of it knocks you backwards, Teve. You let go of the knife and are flung back across the room, bowling into Dominica, knocking her off her feet. The screaming increases in intensity, louder and louder and louder. You see Blake's hairline begin to recede into the floor, swallowed by the blood as a single bubble rises up to the surface. Take a deep breath, guys. Take a deep breath. The three of you open your eyes. You're lying on the floor of room 203 of Marshanks's boarding house. In the center of the room, the pool of blood spills across the tarpaulin, the curved obsidian knife lying in the center. The body of Violet gone. Blake opens his mouth and gasps for breath. And you rush over to him, pulling him off the tarpaulin and onto the floorboards, sinking into a huddle against the wall.
Why?
Knock! 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 Someone raps on the other side of the door. This is the Bridgewater Police Department. Is anyone in there?
I'm still huddled. I'm not.
Eve goes and opens the door.
The door unlocks easily. You pull it open, and the police officer steps in, his mouth dropping open at the scene he sees inside. A murder scene with no body. And three people covered in blood, their eyes and faces painted in abject horror. He looks around, puzzled, scratches his head. There was a call of a disturbance. Where's the body?
Steve sort of places a hand on his shoulder and says, "Have you ever heard of spontaneous combustion?"
Oh my god.
And that's where I will tell you, well done. You survived,
Ellie.
but not without cost. The police officer, befuddled by the whole situation, eventually asks the three of you to come down to the station. You're not under arrest, he says, but you do have to ask some questions. And so you're rescued from that room, only to be trapped in another. The three of you sit waiting in separate interrogation rooms for the better part of a day, forced to recount the harrowing experiences to a police officer over and over. And no matter what you tell him, nothing seems to stick. Everything defies explanation. At the end of it, he's not sure what to believe. There's no body. And nothing makes sense.
No body, no crime.
You're released later that night into the custody of Dr. Edwin. With a solemn face, he tells you that he's pulled some strings, that the police will be instructed to record this as an accident, misadventure, that the case of Violet will forever be regarded as an unsolved mystery. One day, she was in the boarding house, the next day she wasn't, and nobody knew what happened after that. It's in the library on the campus of the college, where you're finally allowed to comprehend what just happened. Surrounded by the familiar, comforting surroundings of the library. Thick, ornate bookshelves covered in stacks, reams of books, wisdom written by the greatest minds humanity has to offer. It's here where the professor sighs and grants you permission to grieve. Grants you permission to be human again. Violet, he tells you, was not in the best state of mind at the time of her death. She had originally come to the attention of the society, he explains, because of her prior dealings with the supernatural, dealings that resulted eventually in the disappearance and presumed death of her fiancé. It was during their investigations into the cult of Cthulhu when they ran afoul of the Dreamlands. And it was from that point onwards that she vowed, at any cost, that she would find a way back there, that she would plumb the Dreamlands nightly for the rest of her life until she could find what was taken from her and bring it back. And then, when she lost the ability to do that, when the trauma became so much that she even lost the ability to travel to the Dreamlands in her sleep, she began to get increasingly desperate. He warned her, he tells you, he warned her of the danger of trusting the forbidden law. A danger that you, Dominica, know all too well, the very same thing you warned Florence of. But Violet was desperate. She wouldn't give up. And when she met the entity from the Dreamlands, she thought she had found her answer. It's sad, says Dr. Edwin, shaking his head. Even things that live beyond mortal ken deal in the same deceit that we do. The thing from beyond was not to be trusted, and what she thought was a ritual that would allow her finally, permanently, to enter the Dreamlands, instead lured the entity from beyond over to this side. Her body consecrated as a vessel to contain its consciousness, so that it could enact its duty as a servant of Yog-Sothoth, the gate and the key, and create a bridge between this world and the next. Had she succeeded in taking Blake, he says, taking a deep breath, pouring a glass of illegal whiskey, draining it, offering the bottle to each of you in turn, the circuit would have been completed, he says, and that room, which had been turned into a nexus point between our world and the world beyond, would flow forth. And then, the mysteries of the Hakamak Swamp would have been the least of our worries. He dismisses you that night, tells you to get some rest, take some time, recover. It'll be a few more days before Edna's due back from Boston. You've got some time to live normally until once again you thrust yourselves into this world of madness in the crusade to avenge Florence and Angela Lawrence and all who have died in the swamp, to continue your desperate struggle against Mikote. Congratulations, everyone,
Yay!
for surviving that episode. You
We
each
survived! Woohoo!
just barely. For surviving that episode, you each gain 1d10 points of sanity. And, in addition, you may each pick one of your skills and increase it by 1d20 points of percentiles.
Sorry, how much? Sorry, I missed the first part. What?
So 1d10 san and a skill of your choice increases by 1d20, and each of you increases your Cthulhu mythos by 1d4 percentiles after hearing of how close Yog-Sothoth, the gate and the key, came to emerging in the world of the living.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, I just got an extra 20 in bushcraft.
I increased my Greek.
Definitely, you're
That's
gonna
a
take that
10
book.
for sanity.
Ooh, very nice. Max sanity back. Yeah, you take that book home and you're gonna like spend your nights reading that tourist phrase book and learning some Greek. Which will be useful because you are allowed to keep the Book of Dream Memories. I'm sure you're well aware of the danger it poses, says Dr. Edwin. You won't make the same mistakes as Violet, I dare say. If there is anything within that you think would help us in our investigations of the Hakamak Swamp, if there is anything within that may resist the call of Mikote, then you have my blessing to make use of it. And so that means next session, you'll have the opportunity to translate a little bit of the text and see if you glean anything useful.
So I would like, during the downtime, I want to I'll read over the counting sheets and with Dominica's help translate the book as well.
Yeah, well, we'll get to that next session. The start of next session, we will see what you find. And is anyone's luck below 30 currently?
No.
Nope.
My luck
77.
28.
Well,
Super lucky.
so no extra luck for this session.
Wait,
this was after
Wait,
all.
mine's below 30. Mine's
Oh, yours
yeah,
is
it's
below
28.
All right, you get 2d10 points of luck back, and the other two of you get 1d6 points of luck back.
That's 2.
What did he say?
Yeah,
2d6?
it's no
That's a
longer
3.
77.
Nothing. 6.
Am I allowed to go over my starting sanity?
Yes, you can, but your sanity, um, has a maximum of 100, right? So your power is just your starting san. You can go over that, but
Okay.
your maximum sanity is 100 minus whatever your Cthulhu mythos is. The more you learn about the mythos, the less sane you can be.
Right.
So just bear that in mind. But yes, you can go over your starting sanity. Which means for you, Dominica, this glimpse into the world of the mythos has... Well, of course it was traumatizing, but for you, this marks the beginning of a new era. These are the things that you spent your whole life yearning for. Where others would be traumatized, left with horrible memories and scars that would never fade. You feel vindicated in a way, Dominica, because you've glimpsed this world and realized it is indeed real. And here, much like your sister thought she was, you are in your element. And that concludes tonight's Call of Cthulhu.
Well done.
I bid you all farewell until next time, and remember, every time you sleep and enter that land of dreams, make sure nothing follows you back. Goodbye, everyone. And there we go. That concludes the session.
I'll be back in a second. I'm just finishing. All right, guys, there you have it. Thank you very much for joining us again for Call of Cthulhu. It's been way too long. Thank you guys so much. We will hopefully, maybe, be back next week. But until then, if you haven't already, smack that follow button. If you're feeling saucy enough, rub that subscribe button. And come join me on the Discord if you want to stay up to date with when I'm streaming, or if you just want a good place to chill with an ever-growing awesome community. You guys are awesome. Thank you so much, and I will maybe see you guys tomorrow for another stream. Until then, have a fantastic one.